Welcome to the 99th episode of Monday Movie Pickup. So we're going to start with the most exciting entries to the collection. It's melody time. It is Make Mine Music. A very interesting story with these ones. On Twitter, somebody had just said that they were speaking to someone at Disney Movie Club, because you can do orders over the phone, and someone had mentioned to them, would you be interested in ordering Make Mine Music and Melody Time on Blu-ray? It was just kind of a quick thing like that, like they tried to sell you something more, but it confused the person buying it because they said, those movies aren't available on Blu-ray, are they? And they said, no, there is a version of them coming to Blu-ray now. I don't know if that person was supposed to be revealing that information quite yet, because these images were not in the store yet, there wasn't a link for them yet. But basically, that guy on Twitter was able to pre-order these like 2 months ago. And then that kind of spread the word that maybe these movies were finally getting a Blu-ray release. And then what do you know, they finally showed up. I made sure to pre-order them right away. And what's really cool about these is these are the final films from Disney Animation Studios. Their canon of now 60 films. With Encanto, that is 60 films that they've made in their 90-year history. These are the final two that need to get released on Blu-ray. So, pretty cool. This has been something I've been working on since 2011, when a lot of the movies started to be released on Blu-ray. And there's still some ones that I want to get through the Signature Collection. I now have every single Disney Animation Studios film. This has been a project of mine for 10 years. And a lot of it was waiting on Disney to finally do all these releases. And they kind of did them slowly towards the end, but finally, through Disney Movie Club, all these Blu-ray exclusives, they finally did it. I haven't popped these in yet. I haven't checked out the transfers. I did get kind of told that Make Mine Music, this isn't the full version of Make Mine Music. And I still don't think Make Mine Music is on Disney+. For some reason, this is not available on Disney+, and that kind of raised a lot of eyebrows as to why it's like the only of the entire Disney canon that hasn't been released on Disney+. And some people were thinking maybe it's because they're working on a 4K transfer that's going to include the cut segment from the film. But it sounds like this Blu-ray does not include the segment. These Blu-rays do have special features. It looks like they just include some cartoons that were maybe available when these were released on DVD. And this is just the DVD artwork from the time these were released on DVD a couple years ago. So there's nothing really special about them, but I still want to see what the transfer looks like. It's unfortunate that's not the uncut version, but then again, Black Cauldron kind of also, crushed any dreams of that film having, the uncut version of that film on it, which does not even exist anymore. The only difference was, I guess, Saludos Amigos did have the version of the film where Goofy is smoking, so that film was released unedited, as it had been previously edited. So I think that got a lot of people talking, like maybe these other ones will be released unedited, or maybe they're going to release some cool uncut versions of the film, but it doesn't look like it. Make Mine Music still has the cut segment, which, in the end, whatever. I mean, you can watch the uncut segment on YouTube. I'm sure it's available on some older Disney VHSs or something. I mean, there's other ways to watch it, but it's just, whatever, this is the best we're going to get. Every film is now on Blu-ray. It's super cool. It's nice to have a complete collection on the shelf, and we'll move on from there. Would be cool if some of those 2 movie packs did split up the film zone to different cases, though. I mean, like, it'd be kind of cool to have Rescuers and Rescuers Down Under in separate releases. Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 in separate releases. That way I could actually put them in release order. Right now it's kind of a release order, with some exceptions. I'll move on. It's too late. I'm surprised. I should be happy they're even doing Blu-ray at this point. Which, let's go on to more Disney Blu-rays, or I guess Marvel Blu-rays. This is Black Widow, the film that everybody said to. This was released on Disney Plus the same day it was released in theaters, but it did get a Blu-ray release a couple months later. For a while in the stores, they had like a red cased version of it. I wasn't a fan of the red case, so when I saw it with the blue case and it was for sale, I was like, alright, now I'll buy it. I wasn't in a big rush to, buy it quite yet. I was probably going to just hold off until Black Friday, but then I saw it for a pretty affordable price at Target, so I figured, whatever, I'll get it now. And here's Once Upon a Deadpool. This is the PG-13 version of Deadpool 2. As I would like to think about it, it's sort of 20th Century Fox's way of testing the waters to see if a PG-13 version of Deadpool can exist. I don't even know what kind of numbers this did at the box office, but it did have a Blu-ray release, and I am interested to watch it. I've already watched 2 versions of Deadpool. There's, you remember, the film was released theatrically, but then they did like a super long version of it that had like extended jokes and humor. So now this is like the 3rd edit of the film. I'm also continuing to get the Paramount Presents line of films. These are some pretty recent ones. Here is Breakdown, starring Kurt Russell, which, I read about the plot of the film. I thought, this sounds like a really cool movie. I know nothing else about it. And just from this cover, I was like, oh, what? This movie is like from the 80s, but it was actually released in 1997. If you actually look at the poster on the inside, now it's starting to look more like a 90s poster, but for some reason, like the outside of it, I was like, oh, that looks like a 80s movie, I bet. It's also cool that there's some different artwork on the inside. Some of these Paramount Presents lines don't have this, but they started to implement it now with some of their later releases. I've talked about it many times before. I am a big old fan of the Paramount Presents line, and I'm going to try to collect them all, so yeah, let's keep it up. Here I have the Shiek. The only reason I was really interested in this movie, this is actually a Paramount Presents movie, which really tells you Paramount Presents is kind of all over the place with the types of films they're releasing. But this one's pretty cool because this is a movie released in 1921. This movie is 100 years old. I believe this movie had a Kino release, and the sequel is still available through Kino, but I think the Shiek's version, the first film released through Kino, is no longer available. So Paramount seems to be doing the job of releasing, or at least re-releasing, some of these movies on Blu-ray that these other companies were doing for a while. Companies like Shout, Kino, Criterion. Paramount's now just re-releasing them themselves. And at least they're doing something kind of special with it. I mean, this movie does have special features in there. Desert Heat, 100 Years with the Shiek. That's the one special feature it has. So, is it more than likely just going to be a couple people talking about the movie for 5 minutes? Yeah, it probably is that kind of special feature. But you really can't go wrong with the way they're doing these releases with the slipcovers, trying to make it special, and they're all numbered, so there's a reason. Yeah, if you number the movies for some reason, then I'm all over it. Shout, Select, Criterion, number the spines, suddenly I'm buying them. Here's Warner Archives' Night Shift. I've actually seen this movie before. This is a wacky movie. This is basically this guy, he works at the morgue, and then basically Michael Keaton shows up and turns the place into a brothel. That's basically the premise. And I think, if I'm correct, I think this movie, it was released even before Risky Business. So, I mean, I guess that was just the kind of story that was popular at the time. I don't know. This is very, it's not the funniest movie ever, but Henry Winkler is so, his performance really bounces well against Michael Keaton's really crazy energy. So, if you're a Michael Keaton fan, if you're a Henry Winkler fan, really check this movie out. I remember, it's not the funniest movie ever, but it's a lot of fun. It's a fun movie. And I have a DVD of it, so I was happy to see that Warner Archive was doing a Blu-ray release, because I was like, it's about time I upgrade that. And we have here the Rush Hour trilogy. So I've never seen any of the Rush Hour films, but what I thought was really cool about this set was it had all the movies on Blu-ray, but it actually includes the 2 discs that were released for Rush Hour 3 when it was originally released on Blu-ray. It also has a whole new bonus disc. Yeah, I think this is a super cool set that they put together for the films just because it included all the previous discs that have been done before. Sometimes these releases will not include those second discs that were released for earlier Blu-ray releases. Mission Impossible is like the worst offender of that. I don't think the additional discs for Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible 3 especially, because that in general had a 2-disc release. You could get that anywhere at the time. But the sequels, the 4th and the 5th one, also had bonus discs. And those bonus discs that were Target exclusives or Best Buy exclusives, you can't even find them on any of the complete sets anymore. So they really dropped the ball on a lot of special features. I don't know if they plan a set in the future that's going to include everything, but it's cool that Rush Hour did it right. They're like, there was a Blu-ray release for the 3rd film way back in the day, and it had 2 discs. We better include it. I have here It Chapter 2, and speaking of collections that don't include the bonus disc, this had a bonus disc when it first came out, and this is the version that has it. They have them double stacked in there like flapjacks, but it's in there. There's the movie, and then here is the bonus disc, which it doesn't surprise me that they would need a whole another disc for the bonus features, because it too was very long. It was a very long movie. 169 minutes. Yeah, I was trying to remember how long it was. But I remember liking the sequel. And I thought it was cool that they did like a bonus disc that had a special feature that talked about the making of both films. So I really wanted to get that release, and then they did a version of this of the movies where they released both movies on one set, but they didn't include the bonus disc. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But they are doing that more commonly. It happened with Deadpool 2 also. They had Deadpool 2 with both versions of the film. And then like a couple months later, they released another version of Deadpool 2 that didn't include that version of the film, the extended cut. So I'm not a fan of that, but they do that a lot with these releases now. You know, they do a new release, they slash the disc out. And that's why I had to make sure I got it now, because I was like, I don't know if their plan is to make this one go out of print or what, but G.I. Joe Retaliation. Yeah. So there's the new G.I. Joe movie. Yeah, well, this version of G.I. Joe here has the extended cut. I didn't even realize there was an extended cut of this film. So apparently back in the day, the extended cut was available on Blu-ray if you bought the film out of the States. However, at Best Buy, you know, and this was right when the movie came out, in 2013, when you buy the Blu-ray from Best Buy, it did include the extended cut. And then that was it. So, like, every other person who bought it didn't get the extended cut, only people at Best Buy. So now recently, they have now made an in general, like, new release of the film that has the extended cut. 2 discs. It's super cool, but I mean, like, God, I would have never known. I saw it at the store, and I was like, I saw that it said there's like the, what do they call it here? The extended action cut. And I was like, I feel like my release that I have has to have the extended cut, right? There's no way that there's like 2 versions of that movie out here. That movie wasn't even that successful, was it? And what do you know? The version I have did not have the extended cut, because it never really existed before. It was kind of harder to get, and now they have it everywhere in all stores. So I was like, well, I might as well buy it. How many times do I have to buy G.I. Joe Retaliation? Apparently a lot. I have here the classic It Came From Outer Space. This is the version that has both the 3D and 2D version. Of course, if you don't have a 3D player, it doesn't really matter. But this is just another 50s sci-fi classic that I've been kind of watching out for a while. A lot of these box sets I own, you know, like the Harryhausen box set, some of the other sci-fi box sets that I've gotten from, like, Universal did some DVDs a couple years ago, and then there's the Blu-ray set that had a couple sci-fi films on it from Warner Brothers. But this one doesn't appear anywhere. It is Universal film, but I don't own this movie anywhere quite yet. And I got some other animated films, so this is Night of the Animated Dead, which I've wanted to see this for a while. This is basically a remake of Night of the Living Dead, but in animation. I mean, there's so many different remakes or rehashes of that film. Given that the movie's in public domain, a lot of people have done a lot of things with that movie, but this looked super cool to me, and as a fan of the original film, of course I wanted to watch it. It was just too bad because I was kind of hoping they were just using the original voices, but it doesn't quite look like they do that. Looks like one of the top billed people is Josh Duhamel, so cool. So it's not the original voices. That would be really interesting if it was. And then last but not least, I have Akira. I have been meaning to watch this movie for the longest time, and I've been meaning to get this Blu-ray release for the longest time. I was at Best Buy forever, and then I kept skipping out on it, and then it disappeared. But it was always like $30. I've heard, of course, amazing things about this movie. This movie's on like my list of, I have a list called Top 10 Movies I Have Yet to See that like everybody expects me to have seen at this point, and Akira's up there. Like I said, I kept skipping out on it at Best Buy, but then I saw it at Target, and it was like for $10. I was like, you serious? I can't even believe that this Blu-ray is still out there, because another thing with anime is that a lot of the films often go out of print or they disappear really quick. So Akira's more popular. I guess it makes sense that it's still in stores, but I was super happy. I was super happy to see it again, and definitely made sure to buy it for my collection. Now I just have to put all this stuff on shelves, and we are done with episode 99. But what do we have planned for episode 100? What could I possibly buy for episode 100? Or will I be buying anything at all? What will happen in episode 100 of Monday Movie? Pick up!
Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for supporting me on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive blogs and videos, and for just $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.